Salvete omnes. Before we start, I'd like to give a shout out to my patrons. I really appreciate your support. Thanks so much. Today we'll start with a really cool phrase from Sir Thomas Malory's Le Morte d'Arthur. Yet some men say in many parts of England that King Arthur is not dead, but many men say that there is written upon his tomb this verse: Hic jacet Arthurus, rex quondam, rexque futurus. Here lies Arthur, the once and future king. Let's break this down. Note first that rex means king. You can remember this because the T-Rex was unarguably the king of the dinosaurs. But in the second instance it says rexque. This que is another way to say and, just like et. Usually it is used for two nouns that are logically linked, but sometimes it is just used to avoid repetition with too many ets. This is what makes the once and future king such a good translation. Obviously, futurus means future, and then quondam means formerly or at one time. So transliterated, this would be the former king and the future king, but the former translation captures the impact of the Latin statement better. Then we have the word jacet, which is contained in the word adjacent. One of the meanings of the word jacet is lying prostrate. So we can remember it by thinking lying adjacent. And note that the words that begin with I can also be written with J, and vice versa, as we'll see in a moment. But first, as a side note, the word Tyrannosaurus in T-Rex didn't fully come from Latin, but the word Tyrannus is in fact a Latin word, contained in the following cool saying: Sic semper tyrannis. This means thus always to tyrants, implying that bad outcomes will eventually befall tyrants. Now, Sir Thomas Malory said the opening verse was written on Arthur's tomb, but in 1191 some monks in Glastonbury, England, claimed to have found the tomb of Arthur and this cross, which is a nightmare to read. The inscription says, Hic jacet sepultus inclitis rex Arturius in insula Avalonia. The word sepultus means buried. This gave us the word sepulchral in English, meaning related to a tomb. This word looks like an adjective, but is actually a participle, which are really weird words that lie somewhere between verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. Here it is functioning like a compound verb form, so just think of jacet sepultus as a compound verb meaning lies buried. Inclitus is actually an adjective meaning famous. If you can think of a good way to remember this word, leave a comment below. And notice that jacet is spelled with an I in this inscription. This is because the J wasn't introduced to Latin until around the time of the Renaissance, and Le Morte d'Arthur was written after this. So, since classical Latin used the I, this lesson's story will also use the I, as in the following. Jupiter erat rex deorum, et in monte Olympo habitabat. Juno erat uxor Jovis, et regina deorum. Jupiter erat deus caeli, et Juno erat dea matrimonii. In the first sentence, we have this strange form deorum, but you probably guessed that this means of the gods. This is the plural genitive or possessive form of second declension nouns. And this can help us decode the abbreviation INRI, which you may have seen in paintings of the crucifixion. This stands for Jesus Nazarenus Rex Judaeorum. Nazarenus is an adjective, so this really means Nazarene Jesus, King of the Jews. But the first part often gets translated as Jesus of Nazareth. But here we see the orum ending once again. So either of these combinations is a good chunk to learn in order to remember this ending. Let's return to the story now. The second half of the first sentence means lived in Mount Olympus. Monte and Olympo are both in the ablative form because they are talking about the location of the living. Then in the second sentence we see uxor Jovis. Uxor means wife, and Jovis is the possessive form of Jupiter. Only the nominative form of this name uses Jupiter. The rest use the stem Iov, Jov. And if you watched my video on the days of the week, you know that Thursday is Dies Jovis, Jove's or Jupiter's day. So Uxor Jovis means Jupiter's wife. And can you guess what Regina Deorum means? Queen of the gods. And the last sentence means Jupiter was god of the sky and Juno was the goddess of marriage. The next section is Neptunus erat frater Jovis et mare regnabat, et Polypemos Neptuni filius unum oculum in fronte habebat. Here, mare is the root of marine and other related words, so this means sea, as in the 7 seas. And regnabat means reigned. Can you see the connection between all these words? Rex, regina, regnabat, all have something to do with reigning. So this first sentence means, Neptune was Jupiter's brother and reigned the sea. In the next sentence, Polyphemus is the name of the Cyclops whom Odysseus met in the Odyssey, and he is also featured in other tales. And here you can probably guess that Neptuni filius means Neptune's son, or the son of Neptune. And as the name Cyclops gives away, he had unum oculum in fronte, or one eye in the forehead. Oculus is one of my favorite words in Latin, and we actually use it in English for the circular openings in domes, and as the root in the word ocular. And fronte can mean both front and forehead, among many other meanings. So this sentence is, and Polyphemus, the son of Neptune, had one eye in his forehead. And the final sentences feature a familiar character. Minerva erat filia Jovis, sed matrem non habebat. Minerva e capite Jovis saluit. The first sentence should be pretty easy. Minerva was Jupiter's daughter, but had no mother. And in the second sentence we have capite, which the word decapitate can help you remember. So e capite Jovis means out of the head of Jupiter. And saluit is the past tense of salit, which we saw once before. If you remember, we used the word assault to remember that this means jump, as in to jump someone. So Minerva jumped out of Jupiter's head. That's the actual Greek myth. On Patreon, each story is consolidated in a single downloadable audio file, together with a full transcript and English translation. The example sentences used in each lesson are also included. There's a link below. Gratias!